I'm in the big leagues, told him don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly. I'm making his dog, like I'm in the big league. Told him that I gotta go, dog. I'm riding a road job.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to I Am Doctor. I am your host, Dr. Antonio Webb, an orthopedic spine surgeon.
I'm your co-host, Dr. Maita, an anesthesiologist.
This show is just two docs just chopping it up about everything inside and outside of medicine, relationships, contracts, investing, med school, residency. What are we gonna work on today?
We're gonna do some shoulders, triceps, and we're gonna hit some core.
All right, man, you ready?
I'm ready, let's do it.
All right, cool.
Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. Yeah, I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly. I'm making his dog.
So today we're gonna be talking about some finance too?
Yeah, man, everything money, bro.
All right, let's do it.
So what are we hitting first?
You know what? Let's hit these battle ropes first.
All right,
Get a good little warm up going.
let's do it. Now these ropes, man, will definitely work you out. Let's go. Let's go, come on, let's go. Let's go. Come on, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Just warming up, baby.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whew. So we're talking about finance today, right?
Yeah, man.
So you just came out of residency, right?
Yep, just finished my training.
What'd you do with your first paycheck?
I haven't spent any of it, man.
Really?
Nah, nothing.
What do you mean?
I haven't spent any of the money. My plan is to save. You gotta be very frugal.
For
Coming out
sure.
of training.
Because you got like loans and everything, right?
A lot of loans. Yeah, $500,000.
You know, how much does a spine surgeon make during a case?
Each individual case, it depends on what we're doing, but it can range from 1,000, 6,000, 7,000.
Okay.
It depends. So,
What does it depend on? Like what things?
you know, the complexity of the case, how long the case is, what all you're doing, whether it's you're decompressing the spine or putting screws, hardware, fusing.
Right.
So it depends. We're about to hit the second one.
Yeah, let's do it. Don't worry about that, bro. We just kick it in the back and watch you guys work. All right, let's go start our workout. We just finished these battle ropes. We did 3 sets for about 30 seconds each.
Yep.
And now we're gonna start our shoulders.
All right, cool.
And we're just gonna start over with some lateral raises, keep it simple, get some blood going. I wanted to ask you, bro, I think about this all the time. Becoming a doctor, like, it's kind of like becoming an athlete. You train your whole life, and all of a sudden you're making this money.
Yeah.
So how does that feel since you're out?
You know, it's a weird feeling just because, you know, you don't make any money for 14, 15 years of being in training, get paid peanuts.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're making pretty decent money. But I think it's kind of like a person who's coming out of the draft, like the NBA or NFL. You know, when they first get that first paycheck, you got people beating down your door. You know, insurance companies. You
Really?
got people trying to sell you real estate, cars. You know, all these, policies. That's the same thing with being a physician. And it's really overwhelming, man. I got 50 financial advisors in my inbox.
Dang.
Trying to meet with me and, different people trying to sell real estate. Somebody came out of my office yesterday trying to sell some real estate. So you got all these people, you don't know what their true intentions are.
Yeah, like you said, man, in residency, I think, people get it twisted sometimes. As a resident, you don't make that much money.
Nope.
I mean, you make I'll tell you right now, you make like 55, 56,000 a year. And I mean, that's a decent amount of money to live off of. But during parts of residency, you're doing like 80 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
And so when you average that out, that's like barely minimum wage sometimes.
Oh, I did a video on this, man, how much doctors making as a resident. People at McDonald's, if you calculate all the hours, especially
Really?
surgery, people at McDonald's probably make, about the same or a little bit more than a doctor, which is crazy. Because you go through all these years of training.
So should you go into medicine for the money? People ask me that all the time.
Absolutely not.
What?
No, absolutely not. There's so many other things you can do. You can do business, start your own business, go in engineering, so many other fields, man, it's not worth it. Yeah, so I definitely wouldn't recommend that. People see all these figures about how much doctors make and, they make all this money, but how much does an anesthesiologist make?
Anesthesiologists, depending on private practice or academics, I'd say on average, we make around $350, $400 is probably the average. Depending on where you live, it can move up a little bit, move down a little bit. If you take extra call, it could definitely move up if you're fellowship trained, but I'd say around $350, $400. How about the average spine surgeon?
It depends. 500, 600, 700, 800, depending on what part of town, country that you're in, whether you're private practice, employee, hospital-based. So it depends.
So what's that mean? Because as a med student, I didn't know what private practice meant or employed. Maybe I was just a clueless med student.
Yeah, so private practice means that you have your own business. So whether you join another group of doctors or you start your own practice and business, there's all different types of models out there. There's pros and cons to private versus academic versus employed positions. In terms of salary, autonomy, all different things. So it just depends. What set is this?
This is our third set.
Final one?
It's 20 more sets.
What are you planning to go into once you're done with your training? Private or academics?
So I'll be finishing my pain fellowship and I think I want to do private practice. I kind of want to do my own thing.
Why?
I want to customize treatment plans for patients to not only treat their symptoms, but to help cure whatever it is causing those symptoms and incorporate regenerative medicine, functional medicine, nutrition.
So you want to start your own business?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice, man.
And they don't teach us that.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
That's the hard part. You got to learn that by yourself.
Yeah.
How'd you pick that up?
Just talking to people, reading books, picking people's brains, mentors, watching YouTube videos. Like you said, it's not really talked about, but it's one of those things that I wish we had some courses on this in med school.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole business aspect of medicine, nowhere really talks about, like the overhead as a physician, especially in private practice.
What do you mean by overhead? What's that mean?
So overhead is how much you pay your employees for office space, for lights, for the paper that you use, pens, pencils, insurance. You got to pay for all that. That's 3 sets. Okay.
All right, we're gonna do some. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little bit of these, and then we're gonna do some dips. You're just gonna add weight. We're gonna help each other out.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So
why don't you start here on the dips?
Yeah. So the overhead is just everything that you have to pay for in your business, and for most groups, especially spine surgery, orthopedic surgery, can be anywhere between $40,000 to $50,000 a month.
So yeah, like, you know, I think doctors in the past, like 20, 30 years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were making a lot more money. There were more avenues to do that. So, you know, if you're about the money, then it might not be the best way to go, right? Because it took you what, like 50 years to finish orthopedics and get into spine?
You sound like old, bro?
Oh, but it takes time.
It does, man. It's
But how long did it take you with everything, with your training and?
About 15 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, definitely don't go in it for the money. Especially during COVID, everything that's going on right now. You got to keep your expenses really low, because just now all the elective cases are being canceled. So some hospitals, I can't do surgery. So I can't make any money off of that. And if your overhead is extremely high, some of the groups I interviewed at were $50,000 a month. Wow. If it's that high, it's hard to be able to meet that and then generate a comfortable living when you got to pay $50,000, kind of bottom line. Yeah. So what about, is there overhead for anesthesiologists?
If you do like pain, where is it, you know, that's an office-based practice, there's gonna be overhead, just like your clinic. But in, you know, anesthesiology, where you're going in and doing the case, there isn't that much overhead because you're not based out of an office or anything like that.
How much does the anesthesiologist make per case?
So it depends. It depends on how long the case is, the insurance, you know, what kind of procedures you're doing in the case, right? If you need like invasive monitoring and things like that. But I'd say on average, you know, you probably can look at like 3,000 or 4,000 a day, depending on where you work and where you live, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But we get paid based off the units of time. Yeah. So like per 15 minutes, you get a certain amount of units, and each practice like will bill differently for those units.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it's not like, you know, super straightforward, but it depends.
Yeah, so as a surgeon, there's a lot of different ways.
Thanks, bro.
You can generate income. Yeah. Seeing patients in the hospital, you have what's called consulting, your ancillary income. This is income from braces that you sell, whether you own like a physical therapy department, any type of surgery center investments. So there are a lot of different investments that you can make as a physician. But what are you invested in right now? Like, you invested in stocks, Bitcoin?
Dude, speaking about Bitcoin, I don't know what
Tell me about it,
happened
man.
with
I know
Bitcoin.
nothing about it.
Bro, the first time I heard about Bitcoin, guess it was in 2012.
Yeah. What is Bitcoin? People, I hear about that, but what is it?
You know, I'm not an expert, but it's a form of digital currency. And so it's based off of transactions, and it pretty much eliminates any third party like a bank. So you get to monitor and supervise the transaction between me and you. There doesn't have to be a third party like a bank.
How do you make money off of it? That's what I want to know.
Bro, that's what I want to know too. But the thing is most people right now are getting into Bitcoin because they think it's going to be something like gold in the future. Okay. And so it's skyrocketing. And you know, with COVID, we're moving against paper currency. Yeah. So that might also be another impetus for it.
That's three.
But, you know, I would like to invest. We're going to do one with some weights. What are you invested in right now?
Right now, just coming out of training, I'm being very frugal. So,
yeah.
You know, I'm big into real estate, but no stocks, anything like that. I listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey. I took his course, Financial Peace University.
Oh, really?
So he has his baby steps about getting out of debt. You know, with my crazy student loan debt, the first thing you want to do is like save emergency fund, and then you want to start paying off your debt from lowest to highest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I'm not doing any other investing right now. But people have different thoughts about it, different trains of thought about should you pay off your loans versus try to invest in the stock market before you pay off all your loans. But what do you think?
You know, I've read The White Coat Investor, and he goes into that a little bit. And overall, I think what I got from the book is whatever has a higher percentage rate, you should pay off first. So a higher percentage rate of interest is what I mean. You should pay off first. All right, we just finished these dips. Let's go over here and do some more shoulder work.
All right, man, how you feel?
I'm feeling good, man. I was wondering, so what was like the biggest thing you bought with your first paycheck? Ferrari or what?
No, I mean, I'm not really big into cars, man, so you gotta be frugal with your money. I haven't bought anything big. You know, the biggest thing I've bought is a new computer.
Honestly, that's a
business expense.
Takes a lot of discipline.
Absolutely. You're going online, man, and you're seeing everyone else buying these big cars, houses. But the first few years out of practice is the most important years in terms of finance and investing and becoming wealthy. Like, you should live as a resident the first few years out of training. So if you're making, like you said, $60,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
Pay yourself $75,000. So give yourself a $2,000 a month raise. Pay yourself $75,000 and put the rest towards debt. You know, invest some of it. But you can live real comfortable on $75,000. Like, why do you need to spend $400,000 that first year that you're out of training? You don't.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What are you going to buy? The first thing that you're out, that first paycheck, what are you going to buy?
Protein, bro. No, that's a good point. I mean, do you recommend getting like a financial advisor? A lot of doctors talk about that. Because, you know, I've looked into it, and I mean, I feel like there's some positives and negatives about it. But, you know, I don't have that money yet.
Yeah, I think financial advisors, they have their role, but coming out of training, I think you need to know how to manage your own money. Like, you shouldn't rely on someone who is going to be in control of your finances. You should understand. They should teach you. Just like when someone comes to the doctor, you want to educate them. And you want a financial advisor, someone who's going to be a teacher and can talk about what stocks, IRAs, like a SEP IRA. Like, no one taught me that. I talked to different people, and I learned it kind of just by reading and listening to a lot of podcasts. But these are things they don't teach us when you are out in practice, like disability insurance. Like, you have to, as a surgeon, I have to protect my hands. If something happens to my hand, like if you're lifting 400 pounds right now, like you look like you lift about 400, and I drop that weight on my hands, I can't operate. So I have insurance on my hands. So people don't really understand that, especially a lot of med students.
And the thing is, you know, I read this too, that hiring a financial advisor isn't always as lucrative because you got to pay them to give you the advice, right? And that adds up over time. I mean, for some people it might work, some people doesn't. But since I'm going out soon to private practice, like here in a year and a half, you know, it's something I've been thinking about. You know, I wish they taught us this stuff in med school, dude.
They don't.
It's like, and in college too. I mean, if you don't get a degree in finance or something like that, or maybe I'm just assuming things, but you don't really learn too much about it.
What about real estate? So you own a house here, right?
Yeah.
Do you think med students or residents should buy real estate while they're in training?
That's a good question. I think buying a house comes with a lot of expenses, right? Like every year you should allocate 1% to 2% of the mortgage for repairs and stuff. And I didn't know that until I bought my house and I had to replace, you know, some big ticket items there. And I was like, dang, bro, I thought I was just gonna come in here, live here for 4 years and bounce. But no, you gotta take care of it. And so I think it depends. I think, in my opinion, if you're gonna live there for 5 years, you could buy a house. But there's nothing wrong with renting. And if you do rent, you know, it's also gonna be just as beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, you have to...
Did you buy a house?
You hitting that one next?
Yeah.
Or are we hitting this one?
No.
So, yeah, I did. I have a couple of real estate properties here in town. You know, you have to deal with the tenants. I have a property management company that helps me manage the properties. But, you know, you can have bad tenants. My last 2 tenants in my property, one of the properties, which is by SeaWorld, they both moved out, like all of a sudden, didn't pay me for months.
What?
So if you're a resident or med student, you don't want to deal with that. So there's a lot of risks versus benefit of owning real estate. The last renter before that damaged about $15,000 worth of stuff. They like tore my house up, and they just left. $15,000. I had to pay that cash to get my house back on the market.
So the property management company finds someone for you, right?
Yeah, supposedly.
So, you know, how do you get
Supposedly
them find?
somebody good.
Oh, okay. Man, that's tough.
Yeah, so residents should stay away from it?
It's hard to say, it's not black and white, but I will say, you know, there's this like fixation by doctors that, oh, you should buy a house, or you should, like, you need to purchase a home as a doctor. And I think that's the wrong mentality. I think there's nothing wrong with renting because you don't know where you're gonna be in the next like 4 or 5 years. And you gotta make sure that your relationships are okay with whoever you're with, and that you have and that your, you know, economics are all checked and your accounts are all checked. And so, I don't know, if it was me, I would rent. You know, I did buy a house, but I think there's less headache with renting.
Yeah, definitely less headaches, man. You don't want to deal with all that. You have a lot on your plate as a trainee.
Exactly.
You know, in terms of trying to learn, take tests, focus on your specialty. You don't want that extra heartache. But if you're in a specialty like neurosurgery, you're in training for 7, 8 years at one place, maybe, you know, but that's kind of my thoughts on it. Yeah. What are we doing next?
Let's do some core.
Core?
Gotta hit some core.
Let's do it. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, bro, it's all about these morning workouts to like maximize our time.
Yeah.
Let's move this back, actually.
Quick question, Dr. Webb.
Yo.
You mentioned you learned a lot of your finance information from podcasts and YouTube.
Yep.
What are your top 3 podcasts that you've learned over finance?
I would say White Coat Investor. That's a really good, it's by Jim Dolly, he's an emergency medicine physician. There's Dave Ramsey. There's Passive Income, or Passive Fire. I believe that's what it's called. So those are the ones I recommend. There's Millionaire Next Door. There's a whole bunch of other books in terms of about millionaires and how they think. It's just like a physician. You have to have that mentality. You have to think that way, because when you're out, those first few years are going to be really critical in terms of how you manage your money, keeping your expenses really low, being very frugal. You know, you don't need a new Bentley your first year out of training, and that's where a lot of athletes get into trouble first coming out of training. What are your thoughts? What are you reading for finance?
Yeah, I like the White Coat Investor, like you mentioned. I think for physicians, it's a great book to read because, first of all, it's written by a physician, and I think all medical students should read that book. Like, it should be part of their curriculum because it talks about loans and taxes and all that stuff.
Do you think medical students should invest during medical school?
Yeah, extra money. Yeah, why not? Like, I think getting involved in a Roth IRA early is good.
So a Roth IRA is a form of retirement.
What is a Roth IRA?
So I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not an expert in this, but a Roth IRA is a form of retirement. So you have traditional IRA, individual retirement account, and you have Roth. One of them is pre-tax, one of the other one's post-tax. Roth is post-tax. Everything that you earn, kind of your dividends, all of your income from that IRA is tax-free after you put your money in. Or it grows tax-free. You don't have to pay any more taxes on it until you take it out. But I could be wrong, man. I'm still learning. So I have what's called a SEP IRA. It's for self-employed business owners that you can do some investing as a business owner. Private practice, you know, you pay yourself a certain salary. I have a payroll. I give myself, you know, let's say I make $800,000 a year. I pay myself a certain salary, and then you give yourself some money for dividends throughout the year. So stuff they don't teach us.
Yeah.
What about you, in terms of like what type of IRAs should people look into? or investments tools?
Yeah, so I like the Roth IRA, especially during residency. Like maybe as a med student, you can't pay for that, but as a resident, you should definitely invest in a Roth IRA because that money is gonna grow tax-free. And so that's gonna pay off huge dividends later on. So if you're a resident listening to this, start saving some money and putting it in your Roth IRAs.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more set here.
Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. There you go. All the way down. There you go. That's it. There you go.
All right, we're gonna do the last exercise, just some tricep extensions.
All right.
And then we'll be done after that.
So how do you deal with family members who think that you're rich? Because you've been in training for about 8-9 years.
Yeah.
And probably as soon as you got into med school, they thought you had a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? I'll tell you how I deal with it. I read a book, or a family member gave me a book. It's called Boundaries. You have to be able to set some boundaries in terms of when people are asking you. They're going to come. All your family members are going to say, "Hey, you're a doctor now. You make all this money. Like, let me hold, $200 until next week." So, I have a very strict rule that I don't lend out money if I can't, in terms of let people just have it. Like, I'm not going to sit there and lend out any type of money. I'm not sure how you deal with that in your family. I don't know if your family members ask you for a lot of money, but as a physician.
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Lebanon. So everyone over there is like, oh, you live in the States? Like, you must have a lot of money. But they don't know I'm a resident. I'm paying off loans. I have rent to pay. I have bills to pay just like anyone else. So you got to be disciplined at that too. You can't be a superhero and, and help everyone out.
I feel like that's where a lot of athletes get into trouble too, because they have this whole posse of people that are following them around. They're supporting this person, this person, this person.
And people who just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then when they're out of training, 5 years out, 10 years out, they're broke. They go broke. You hear all the time about all these athletes who run out of money.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes, or what were some of your big mistakes, if you?
in terms of finances?
Yeah, or like doctors in general.
I think just living outside their means, trying to keep up with the Joneses. They have this big house, big car, nice cars, all these expensive vacations and rentals and yachts and things like that. But you have to be able to generate enough income to sustain that. Yeah. And then when something happens like the pandemic or COVID, you still have these expenses, but you don't have any income coming in. That's why multiple streams of income are important. You got to have multiple streams, from not only your medical job, but you got to have some investments, like in real estate. You got to have, whether that's stocks or a different business that you own. What are your thoughts on the multiple streams? Passive income.
Yeah, passive income. I mean, that's the goal, right? To, kind of do your own thing at work, but also make some extra money on the side. One mistake that I made that I recommend to med students and pre-meds is apply for as many scholarships as you can. And, you may not get some scholarships, but you might get some. Like at my med school, there's a scholarship that if you were an Arizona resident, they would pay half your tuition.
Wow.
And I didn't know that. Yeah. And so I applied to it late and I didn't get it. And unfortunately, it's my fault because I didn't do my research beforehand.
Yeah, I guess that's one mistake too. I should have did more research in terms of finding different scholarships. An option was to go into the military and have them pay for it. But that comes with its own pros and cons. But yeah, you have to, when you're thinking about a med school, you need to look at the tuition costs. The average med student comes out with about $250,000 in debt. And that's something you got to really pay attention to. A lot of people kind of neglect that, come out of training, $400,000 in debt. Yeah. And then they're getting a job, maybe family medicine or pediatrics, that may not reimburse as well.
For sure.
How much debt do you have?
Student loans? About $400K.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And, while you're in med school, I didn't think about it. I was like, oh yeah, this money will get paid off fast. But it's a lot of money, and it's gonna take some time to pay back and some discipline.
What is your plan for your student loans?
Kind of like you said, you
How
hit
many
it
years?
perfectly.
How many years are you gonna pay back?
Try
What's
to
your goal?
pay it off like in 2-3 years, hopefully.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then at that point, I guess my business can be profitable.
Yeah.
Because I'm not paying off this loan.
Yeah. It takes a couple years to be able to become profitable and get out of that black to be able to generate some income. But great workout, man.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah. So what would you say your advice for a pre-med student that's about to go to med school?
Yeah.
Like in terms of things you wish you would have known about finances, about investing or student loans, saving during your medical school, because you're a first year med student, 3 years after that, you're gonna have to pay for your interviews for residency. I spent about 10 grand.
Dang.
They don't give you extra money for that.
Flying around in the same place.
Yeah. So what advice would you give your pre-med self?
Pre-med self, even before that, man, I just think we kind of touched on it earlier, but just scholarships. Like, just apply to whatever, and you're gonna get some. I didn't do that because I didn't really, in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get the scholarship, so I didn't even try. And that was pretty stupid, and I was very naive back then. As a pre-med, I would do the same thing and look at the MCAT and your GPA as an opportunity to go to school for free. So study your best. That way you don't have to get in this predicament that you and I are in with these student loans, because you could get these scholarships to pay for them. You know, there's a lot of opportunities here.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how much you have to pay to go to med school to be a doctor. At Georgetown, I went on their website the other day, $100,000 per year.
100?
100.
Oh my God.
So that's your housing, tuition, books, and everything. But you're coming out of school with $400,000 in debt. And then you can get a mortgage with a lower interest rate than you can get student loans, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
So that's my biggest advice for pre-med students out there. Keep your expenses really low, apply for those scholarships, and, so you don't come out of debt. Like right now, they have their money out. They have their hand out. Like, hey, where's my money? You're making all this money now. Start paying me.
Yeah, I think you gotta live very frugally as a med student. Try to live someone. You had a roommate, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a bunch of money.
Saves a lot of money. Yeah.
My brother and I actually went to med school together. We both got accepted at the same time, so we lived together.
Oh, save a lot of money.
And it saved a lot of money, and it was actually really nice because we'd compete with each other, and so it kept us motivated.
Yeah.
But in regards to finances, just read. Here's the thing: read like 1 or 2 finance books before you start med school.
Yeah.
And just get yourself a little head start. That way you're not shocked after you're done.
Yeah.
So what's your 5-year plan now that you're out?
Live frugal as possible.
Yeah.
Save as much money. Pay off these student loans. That's the biggest thing. You have this weight on your shoulder of all this debt. I think that's going to open up a lot of doors. There's people, like I said, that approach me as a new spine surgeon in town.
Yeah.
Trying to sell me insurance, different policies. Somebody came by my office yesterday trying to get me to invest in a surgery center. So just like I told them, man, I'm 120 days into practice. Like, I'm not about to invest $100,000 on some real estate or some type of surgery center when I have all this student loans. But everybody has a different approach about it, where some people say, hey, your student loan interest is 2%. You shouldn't be investing because the average stock market is going to bring you, 7 or 8%? Yeah. So, but that's not my mentality. I will have more kind of satisfaction and something to keep me going, some motivation. I have no debt and I can still invest like that.
So the priority is to pay off your debt,
you should refinance your student loans. Yeah. Get it to a really low interest rate. That way you can be really aggressive with your student loans. Live now like a resident. So later you can live like no one else. Or how does Dave Ramsey say it? Live now like no one else, so later you can live like no one else. So that's my kind of mentality, my approach to everything.
That's what's up, man.
That's the advice I would give you, man. Coming out of training, be very frugal, be very aggressive with your student loans. And then, you can go out. Like what's your first car purchase going to be?
Me? Bro, I'm going to stick
a Bugatti?
No, I'm going to stick to this Corolla as long as possible, bro.
Yeah.
Until this Corolla breaks down.
Yeah. So, got you. You don't have, what's your dream car?
You know, I had a friend who had a C63 AMG and
Those are nice.
as a pre-med. Yeah.
I just saw an orthopedic surgeon on Instagram yesterday who just bought one, an AMG C63.
Yeah, bro. It sounds like a lion's going down the street.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing, man. Like you start making this money. I can go buy a Bentley or a Range Rover right now.
Can you buy me one too? Or
I got you, bro. You can buy those things now.
Let's change your 5-year plan to that, bro.
We can do that. You can buy those things now. That's the hardest thing. You're passing by these dealerships. I pass by the Porsche dealership every morning on the way to work. That's the hardest thing, not to go in there and just go buy a new whip.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking long term. That's what you got to think. Drive your Corolla, man, till the wheels fall off.
I know. That's what
You can put You can put a system in there, put little hubcaps, man, and just roll, bro. But good chatting with you, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, this is
a good workout.
Absolutely. This is I am your host, Dr. Webb.
And this is Dr. Maita, your co-host.
Yeah, so in this episode, we talked about everything about investing, stocks, what med students, residents should be doing with their money. I'm looking forward to the next one, man.
Yeah, the next one, we're going to talk about that one thing, right?
Can't talk about that, bro. Not on this show.
Maybe the other episode then.
There you go, bro. All right, man. Good working out with you.
See ya.
What the friends knew. Yeah, I'm in the big leagues. Told her don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston. Ayy, feeling like Whitney. Yeah, I need a bag, bruh. Send it through quickly. I'm making his dog.